This recipe makes use of my Cherry Poppins tomato sauce for fish. I'm doubling down on the fennel here by putting shaved fennel under the fish as it bakes, and also adding a second sauce, which is a version of hollandaise. If you watched my videos before, you know that I always include some novel technique, something you're unlikely to have ever seen before anywhere else. In this case, the making of the hollandaise breaks a lot of the rules, but the result is perfect and much easier than the classic method, as you'll see. This recipe is sort of in two parts. The first part is getting the fish into the oven, and then while it's cooking, we're going to make the second sauce that goes over the top of it. I guess you could say it's in three parts, because I'm using this Cherry Poppins sauce, which was also previously made. So there's several steps here that you don't have to do. One of them, you don't have to put fennel under it, you don't have to put capers over the top. Not only does it look better this way, but these two come together in the final dish, and it's really, really delicious. I encourage you to do this. I'm using one of these Kyocera mandolins set on 1/2 millimeter. This is a nice, easy, not very expensive mandolin tool to use. Use the finger guard, by the way, when you start getting close to the edge. How much fennel you use is up to you. So, there's a little pile here. Now we're going to assemble the dish. Into an oven-proof casserole, you put some of the fennel down underneath. Let's see here. I'm using zander, which is a kind of, it's very similar to American walleye. It's a fish with fairly neutral flavor, but it's not especially expensive. It doesn't have very many bones. It's sustainable. It's got a lot of things going for it. And just spoon over this sauce, and you want to have enough to cover it. And if you're using them, which I certainly am, put on a few capers. The rest of the recipe, the rest of the sauce, is enough for 2 pieces of fish. I'm only going to show you one here right now. It's obviously, you just do the same thing in another oven-proof casserole dish. It's the exact same process. Now this goes into the oven while we make the second sauce. Now I have the ingredients for the second sauce that's going to go on it. I have the white wine, cider vinegar, a couple of egg yolks. Doesn't matter if they're broken because they're going to get scrambled up anyway. A couple of shallots, lemon. Now I'm using Indian herb called methi, which is fenugreek leaves for this. You can just use tarragon or even nothing at all. It's okay. And the butter. In a saucepan on a medium-high heat, they add the white wine, a couple tablespoons of the shallots minced, the fenugreek, and the cider vinegar. I'm going to heat this to a boil and begin reducing it. And after a few minutes, when you get it down to about like this, where there's still a little bit of moisture there, but not very much. Now I'm going to add all the butter in at once. Yes, it's not the normal way you make this sort of sauce according to regular cookbooks, but this is going to work just fine. Okay, once you see it start to melt, and just turn the heat off and let the butter continue melting. We'll come back to this in a minute. Yeah, it's been about a minute and a half. Almost all of the butter is melted, not completely, but almost. Now, I remember I turned the heat off, but there's still some residual heat in there. Make sure that you're whisking when you add these egg yolks. Let the residual heat do the work, or at least most of the work. Stapling up and scrape out the rest of this egg yolk now from here. Now, we've got the fresh lemon juice to this, about a tablespoon. This will both thin it out and cause the proteins in those egg yolks to coagulate. So kind of does two opposite things at the same time. Right now it's still warm. It's just where we want to leave it. The fish has got just about a minute and a half left on it now. Just to show you, this is a couple minutes later. I didn't give it any additional heat. Fish is just ready now, and it's at the perfect stage. And here's the fish as it comes out of the oven. Now it's just a matter of lifting this up and rearranging it on a plate with the other sauce. The second volume of my cookbook is now available through Amazon and other booksellers. It covers the YouTube recipes from the last 8 months with more in-depth information. I received requests for the procedures on all recipes, and I've listened to you. Every recipe has step-by-step directions, and of course there are recipes that aren't on YouTube. But this is not just a recipe book. Far from it, as you can see from some of the topics scrolling by here. I'm certain that anyone who watches my channel and any serious cook will find this book a treasury of useful and new information you won't find anywhere else. If you want to know more about my adventures as a chef around the world and have some great laughs along the way, be sure to check out the video tour of my book, 40 Years in One Night. It's up on YouTube right now. Click the link. Also look for my cocktail book, Cocktails of the South Pacific and Beyond, Advanced Mixology, available through Amazon online.